sidewalk, or
On the corner?
on the corner, because the one on Duncan is sitting on our sidewalk on the corner.
If you want to cross Steuben Street, you have to have a crosswalk painted. Is that the issue, the cross Steuben?
Yes.
Yes, but if there's something that we can put
We can
on
put
our property for an alert, you know, because people are gonna see on our property, even though it's not technically on Steuben. If
So
it's on McCormick, on the corner, and that's our property, can't we put something there? If we already have a sign, can we put it on our
But
property?
we don't already have that sign.
No, that's what he said, we have the signs, we can't do it. Did I understand you
No,
correctly?
He's got the stand-up
You got the
signs.
stand-up sign you
Right.
put in the road.
We don't have
Right.
the sign.
Can we sit it on the sidewalk,
Right.
like
Why
Duncan?
can't we sit it on the sidewalk?
Yeah, I mean, it would.
There's one on Duncan.
It's sitting on the sidewalk.
I mean, I
He
was,
said that PennDOT wants the crosswalk painted before the signs. But my point is, back up on Steuben Street and we put our own signs up. I mean, I doubt if the state's gonna come in and take them down.
Steuben is
Can we get our own
PennDOT, right?
signs, Mr. Callen?
I'm sorry?
Can we get our own signs?
What do we have in inventory, Jamie?
We don't have crosswalks.
We can actually get it if we want it.
Can we get them?
So what I'm saying is, Steuben is the one in question.
correct, instead of putting it in the street, put it on this
And
side.
PennDOT would put the lines this way from Steuben, and then, but we have McCormick, so why can't we do something across McCormick? Steuben is this way, McCormick comes here, why can't we have something
I don't
on?
think the problem is McCormick, right? At the end of the day, it seems like what Mr. Callen is saying is that PennDOT doesn't want us to put up any signs until the crosswalk's painted. And that's the gating mechanism, and that's unfortunate, but that's what they've told us. So I'm not really of a mind to defy what PennDOT has told us. What I would say is, Jamie, the first 50-degree day, get out there and paint. And in anticipation of that, let's get the permanent signs, because nobody seems to like the temporary one that goes in the road. Let's get the permanent signs ordered and ready, because PennDOT's not gonna have a fault us for putting up permanent signs there, so that when the 50-degree day comes, which should be, let's hope, in the next
2 months.
days, well, we could have done it over the weekend last weekend,
Well,
right? We had
keep in
52.
mind, you want the cycle of 50, not just 50.
I know. I mean,
In order, and that's a permanent, I mean, in order to make it permanent as opposed to we put it up and then it's gone.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if we, if we painted it and geez, it disappeared, we paint it again, you know? It's important enough, right, the citizens have come to us, right, the children are unsafe, I paint that 3, 4, 5, 10 times, right, until we had it right. But let's get the signs ordered so that they're ready, the permanent ones. I would not recommend putting them up because PennDOT has asked us not to put them up until we paint, and let's paint at the earliest convenience.
Can you call PennDOT and find out if we have any temporary measures we can do? I can't imagine that there is no logic in my mind that says you have to have lines painted to make, people are already crossing the street, so it's already dangerous. So we have to wait for lines to go there.
Well, it does seem logical that you wouldn't put up a sign that says, hey, no driving through a crosswalk when there's no crosswalk on the street, right? That seems logical to me.
It's faint, you can see, it's faint, I mean,
It's probably, honestly, you may, so it's probably a liability issue, to sign and not have any
Every,
crosswalk.
Okay.
I mean,
every intersection is a crosswalk, painted or not.
Right.
If you were to elect to put a crosswalk away from an intersection, then it has to be painted. But regardless, under the vehicle code, that if there's an intersection, it's a crosswalk. You know?
Right.
It's part of the law.
So then that makes me
That would make it
question.
sound like we could put a sign up.
Right.
right.
So that makes me
That seems
question,
reasonable.
do we repaint our intersections on a regular basis?
We paint the crosswalks every year.
Okay, so what happened with this one, just heavy traffic and that's, Okay.
The type of paint doesn't survive the traffic.
I mean, I don't have an answer, but if something is unsafe, and we know it's unsafe, and we know we need to do something to make it safe, there must be something that we can do now to make it safe,
Well, that's,
before we have to go through the,
Fair.
I'm sure, there are technicalities, I'm sure we have to use the right paint, we have to have the right signs and so forth. But why can't we do something now that makes that intersection safe, since people are using it as a crosswalk?
And people don't wanna hear that we have to wait for,
Have you, Bob, have you asked that exact question to PennDOT and they've already answered it, or is that a question that you could get more clarity on?
I'll try to get more clarity. The question that was asked is that we have a problem here. What do we need to do to comply with your specifications? You don't need a sign. We have the sign that you put out in a crosswalk that says vehicles must stop if someone is in that crosswalk. Whether they do or not, I don't know. That's a law enforcement issue.
right,
You cannot put the sign there until you have what is called a piano-style sidewalk, which means not two lines or not cross, but, you know, dark white, dark white, dark white. That's what is required. I did not ask the question, well, do we have any wiggle room to anything less? I'll ask it, but that's why I gave you the name if you want to check out my
well,
story.
I'm not asking for less, I'm asking for temporary until the weather conditions are optimal to secure that.
Right, I think given that intersection and the dangerousness of it, we're saying as a body, we want a permanent sign put there. So the question remains, can we put the permanent sign there prior to having the sidewalk painted in the manner they want it painted?
What's the sign that you say?
Can we have like a crosswalk?
Like the
Like
one
to
at
try-
the park.
The triangle sign with the crosswalk.
Yeah.
The crosswalk for people.
You know what?
Also
All right.
find
We got
out,
it, we got
We
it.
got it, it's okay.
also find out, you know, since it's our property, you know what I mean? It's our property we're putting
Well,
these on.
he's gonna ask the question, right, they know, right, they know we have to maintain that side, right? So, let's find out if we can put it up, if not. And now let's agree, we'll follow what PennDOT says, right? PennDOT says no, I'm not of a mind to defy them on that, for their road. So, if they agree it's okay, let's erect the signs as soon as we get them. And, you know, again, you know, at the earliest convenience, let's paint this the way they want it painted, so it's a way to paint, and get the ball rolling there. Anything else on that point? So I'd like to go through quickly what the mayor had suggested. So I'll entertain a motion to put the mayor's report back on the agenda for the meeting. I'm not sure why it came off,
I don't
but,
know.
you know, I'll entertain a motion to put that back on.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on having a mayor's report? Let's take a roll call vote.
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Mrs. Amendola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Post?
Yes.
Mr. James?
Yes. And Mayor, I can't recite every one of the points you made, but we certainly talked about the potholes, we talked about the crosswalk. What were the other two items?
Taylor and whom?
The Taylor and Home Avenue Safety and the potholes up through, and the Nativity Church.
So I thought we left the Nativity Church, right? Mr. O'Brien, weren't you going to reach out to the pastor there? and talk with him?
Yeah, and I did discuss with them, you know, where they wanted the handicap spaces, and they gave me some insight into why they needed to have two spaces. Basically, they're bringing in large vehicles for drop-off, so they need a larger area to bring in a larger vehicle to drop individuals off. Also spoke with Dave Morgan, the ordinance officer, to get his feedback on it. So it's something that we are discussing, and hopefully I will have everything all the information compiled for our next meeting.
So our next working meeting, right, when we discuss the ordinance, right, which this I think falls into the ordinance committee. Let's have an update on that, and also an update on the Thomas Street for the fire truck. But I don't think we're, Taylor, not Thomas, Taylor, sorry. I don't believe we're prepared to take action now on that, right? I think we should just give Mr. O'Brien some time to look into both issues. I recognize we don't want to table it very long. Let's table it for 2 weeks until we meet again, and give Mr. O'Brien the time he has to need to investigate it.
I got one question. You mentioned they need it for van drop-offs. Then you don't really need a handicap sign in there.
Well, you do if there's cars parked there.
You can have unloading zone only between those hours and those days.
Yeah, and I understand, and
You
there
know,
are,
van unloading, that's all you need. You don't need a handicap.
yeah, and I understand. You know, I'm trying to get as many perspectives as possible. And the other thing with the emergency vehicles, it sounds like there's other situations throughout the borough on streets. We should probably do some sort of an assessment on areas that are not easily accessible for emergency vehicles, because an issue was brought up on Alice Street, going around the curve. So that's the other thing that Dave Morgan and I were discussing today.
Mr. President, would you allow Mr. Seer to give us a 1-minute explanation of this crosswalk thing? He seems to have some knowledge that it didn't come out here in our discussion, and it looks like it would help us a great deal.
When we get to the additional citizen comments, I think that makes perfect sense. But
Okay.
I still don't believe we're gonna be able to take action tonight until we give Mr. O'Brien the time to further investigate it. But Mr. Sears' comments sounds like would help greatly, right, in that. So we'll
No,
hear
no, it's
the
about the crosswalk, not
Oh.
the handicap thing. It's about the crosswalk.
crosswalks.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, okay. Can you stick around?
sure.
Okay,
We'll try to get through the business agenda as quickly as we can.
thank you.
That covered off all the points, Mayor?
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right. Let's move into the business agenda then. Right, we have, like I said, quite a number to go over, and I think there's going to be a decent amount of discussion on a number of them. So, moving right into it. I'll entertain a motion to standardize meeting minutes to record only opposing council members' names in parentheses.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a roll call vote.
Mr. Amendola.
Yes.
Ms. Amendola.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Ms. Obst.
Yes.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to appoint the following Crafton Borough residents to serve on the Crafton Borough Abandoned Blight Property Review Committee for an indefinite period of time. Duncan Penny, Dan Sindrick, Brian Vertz, Luann Ryan, Samuel Strom, Christopher Meredith, and Eileen Clancy.
I'm so moved.
Second.
Is there discussion on this motion?
Yes. I'd like to entertain a motion to table this. I'd like to have more information about some of these people that are being appointed for an indefinite period of time. I don't know some of them. I do know some of them. Some of them are good people. But I'm wondering, what's the procedure for picking these people? Who on council was involved in that?
I would actually like to add to.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
was it moved and seconded?
Yes. I would like to move.
Yeah, I second, not the tabling motion, but I second,
Yeah, I thought I heard a move in a second. You moved it, right?
yeah,
And
and
you
I
seconded.
second.
And then I asked for discussion, and there was
Right.
two people that jumped in for
Yeah,
discussion.
which we
You-
both did.
You started.
You made a motion to table.
You made a motion to table,
Oh.
or not to debate, you're only to have a second, if you don't have a second, you continue on.
Okay, so does he need to withdraw that motion so we can discuss the original motion?
Okay, which one? Okay.
Discuss it and then make your.
Yeah, withdraw, if you would, withdraw
Tracy
your,
wants to
I
add.
withdraw.
What I was gonna say was, in the discussion portion of this, in all of our other committees, advisory committees, there's always a term. And I feel that nobody ever should be indefinite. So I would like to propose an amendment to the motion that, we have a 2, a 3, a 4, some term that we agree on, for this committee.
And just to add to that, I understand that we posted in somewhere asking residents who would be interested. And I'm curious to see, are these the only residents that expressed an interest? Or did we choose these people out of a group of people? And how did we base that decision?
Who processed and how were they chosen?
Yeah.
Right.
If there were more.
Anyone in council have any input there? Or is it the borough manager all by himself? Or were you by yourself on this?
please.
We've been talking about this, forming this committee for the better part of 8 months. Council did take action to form this committee. It was advertised in the Suburban Gazette for any,
Let me interrupt just for a second. The action was in December or November of 2013 to form this committee? is what I understood?
Grafton Borough Council established the formation of this committee via Resolution 2013-13 on November 25th.
No, so November 25th is when it was decided that we would form this committee. Okay, okay, go ahead. Thank you.
So, like anything else, you don't have everybody coming forward to volunteer on issues. So what I attempted to do was to network among folks in the community who they may recommend. And we were very specific in the disciplines, as you could see on the matrix. An architect, an engineer, a lawyer, a real estate person, a banker. Take a look at these vacant properties that, unless arrested, is going to really continue throughout the community, to take a look at that from their specific disciplines and to advise council on strategies to pursue in the future to, number one, eradicate the problem, and number two, to prevent it. To answer your question, I talked to those people. Some people turned me down, other ones said yes, they're willing to. I put indefinite because we don't have a definite term. This could be just a 3-month assignment and it's done. So these are the only people that, at least to me anyway, agreed to serve.
So they were brought in and interviewed by you?
No, they were solicited by.
No,
No.
I talked to each one of these on the phone, and some I did meet in person, yes.
Did any other council people meet with any of these people? Or
Not that I'm aware of.
saw any information, resumes or anything like that?
Nope.
Because nothing was available, or because no one expressed an interest?
People
I
didn't
just wanna
express the
understand.
interest. I had to find people with the disciplines I was looking for.
No, I mean, why no one else from council,
Yeah, we're-
reviewed the people?
Yeah, a month or so ago, right, maybe it was a bit
We
longer.
can table it. I mean, we don't need this.
No, I,
we can table it.
I think we will, I think, we'll talk about that, right? But one of the things I wanna make sure we get clear is that we should be consistent for consistency's sake in this case, right? With the other committees, we advertise, we get folks back, we review, who has offered to volunteer. I understand this is a little different because if I read you right, we didn't get anybody through the, advertisement. You had to go out and solicit, we got one person through the advertisement, good. So, but you had to solicit most of these folks. I think the fact that you had to solicit them doesn't change that we should review some credentials of them, right? I don't know, maybe if you asked every one of these guys to write a resume, they may not, right? It doesn't really preclude them from necessarily being a valid person for this committee, but there should be at least some level of discussion around whether or not we, as a council, agree that these folks are the right folks, right?
Right, you may know people that you would have liked to network and solicit, and maybe others would have too, that we could have brought more people to the table and then made a decision as a group. That's how I.
So what I would recommend, and also the indefinite period of time, I realize it could only be 3 months, but having a term there indefinite sounds
Yeah.
just a little unnerving.
Even if it said like up to 2 years,
Yeah.
or to be
As needed.
extended as needed.
I actually,
Minimum 3 months, maximum 2
I'm pretty
years.
excited about the abandoned and blight property committee, because I think we're always gonna have this in our community, so this is something that's likely to live on. I mean,
Yes.
if it works well. So,
And I certainly wouldn't want to turn down anybody who's willing to volunteer.
Correct.
no.
And even though we may have put out an advertisement, if we would have all networked, how many more people could we have found, and then, but I don't want to turn down anybody who's willing to volunteer.
Correct.
However they were sought out, if they were solicited or networked, who find me
Sure.
some people. But
So here's what I would recommend, right? We'll ask Manager Cowan to give us some credentials for these folks, right? For us to review at the next working meeting, the next meeting we have, the next working meeting. And the next 2 weeks, if anyone else wants to offer names, solicit names of people in the community that you think are good ideas, let's do that prior to the 2-week meeting, okay? And then when we are at the working meeting, we'll discuss all of the names and see if we can come to agreement on who serves. It doesn't look like it's limited to a certain number, right? So we could have more or less folks, but we certainly want these disciplines that I think Manager Cowan has identified to be covered.
absolutely.
And we can agree at that time what we want the indefinite period, what we wanted the indefinite period of time to change to, whether 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, what have you.
So, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, is there any time schedule in getting the committee tonight? Is there anything, like deadlines for grants or anything like that we need to meet? Okay, so it is plausible that we can discuss this at length?
So to council.
Okay.
So in the interest of what the mayor said of getting things accomplished, right, let's all have agreement that any soliciting to be done will be completed and names will be had by the next working meeting, 2 weeks from today, and that we'll decide, and Manager Callen can commit to getting the credentials of these folks, whether by resume or just from a discussion. And we'll make a decision, we'll discuss it then, and put a motion up for the next voting meeting, which would be a month from now. And as I understand it, nothing's gonna change between now and that month, and then we can have a formed committee and move forward.
And we would also need a council person to be on here, correct?
We can
Did I
discuss,
read
yeah,
that in the additional information?
yes.
Okay, so we
Put
would
an
need,
asterisk on this thing, there is a policy that no one person can serve on more than one committee at a time.
okay,
That's the difficulty. We know 4 or 5 architects, but they're from other committees.
okay.
This architect is not.
So, what did you say that again, they can't serve on any 2 committees?
Just one.
Just
committee.
one committee alone, okay, fair enough.
So do we need to make a motion then to table this till our work?
Is it a
meeting?
motion to table? All right, I'll entertain a motion to table this motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the tabling of the motion?
Discuss the table.
Can't discuss the table motion. Do we vote on it?
You have to vote on it.
Have to vote. Let's take a roll call vote on tabling the motion.
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Ms. Amendola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Coast?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Very good.
I'll entertain a motion to contract with Anago Cleaning Systems, the lowest responsible proposal received at a monthly cost of $450 for a 1-year term for janitorial services for the Crafton Borough Municipal Complex.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion?
How quickly can they start?
Manager Callen, are they prepared to start immediately?
We can sign the agreement and probably within 2 weeks, if not sooner.
Great.
Any other discussion on this motion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Ms. Amendola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Coast?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to contract with Blackboard Connect for Government, the lowest responsible proposer as Crafton Borough's mass communication contractor at an initial cost not to exceed $4,393 and at an annual support fee cost of $957.13.
Can we talk about this?
Not until it's,
Until it's moved and seconded.
and then you can vote, and then it goes to whatever.
Well, then we talk.
So moved.
That's the only way that we're gonna get to talk about it?
Yes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I trust there's discussion on this one.
In Mr. Callen's matrix, it says that Blackboard would select phone numbers and emails at $1.99 per residence.
Per
Is that
house,
right?
per household.
Per household. And that's not part of this motion. The motion only covers the initial payment of $5,300 and then a $957 per year. But it doesn't mention anything about
Hold
this.
on. The motion says 4393.
$43.93.
The matrix says 5350. So that's $1,000 difference.
And I don't have that on my matrix. My matrix says
Well,
4393.
if you had
It's 957.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Okay, well, even if you add them together, the $1.99 per residence
Is in addition.
is an addition.
No.
It's in there, it's in
No,
It's not an addition, it's included in this
there. Correct.
$5,350.
correct.
Okay.
Based on 2,600 households, roughly.
Okay, so okay.
Does that include the 2,600 households, does that include rental properties?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And our current provider of Holt, they do have some of this information already, is that correct? by way of email addresses that residents have submitted for mass communication.
Can I speak to that? The downside to what we currently have is we have no way of verifying resident versus non-resident in what we have. There's a database right now of 700, I think it's 763 people that are registered per
That's
se.
not just households, that's people.
That's
So there
people.
could actually be two people
So
in one
we
household.
went through and you could see where, I think you actually, Mary, had 2 different email addresses to contact. So that wasn't necessarily reaching 762 people. It was 762 email addresses, and of those, at least 25% were not confirmed. So,
They accepted, so we weren't getting emails.
correct.
So who's gonna be responsible for the messages that get sent out?
That'll be the next motion.
And I was reading in the additional information that it is advised that we have a policy established for mass communication, and we don't have one of those. So we're going to, we're going to discuss this and possibly pass this without having a policy in place first. I feel that that is retroactive. I kind of feel we need a policy first before.
Well, I think the first motion is do we want to build this list? We
Okay.
want to build a list of people that we would mass communicate to.
And that's all they're doing, is just gathering the data.
Right.
No.
No?
No.
Is anybody signed up, for those of you that have kids in the district, and maybe it reaches outside that? It's a system by which it can reach every resident that has a working phone number.
I'm signed up with
Okay.
WPXI.
No, this is, what does the district
Okay,
use?
good.
Parent Connect or
Oh,
some?
Parent
Link.
Parent Link.
Parent
Link.
Okay, so Parent Link notifies parents of different informations. It may be critical emergency information, it may be teacher's night. So they have the whole database and they're able to reach everybody within a 2-minute period of time. So
Okay.
we would have the ability to reach people on an emergency basis, street closing basis, water break basis, and/or, hey, we're having a bowling fundraiser.
Okay.
So each person has the ability to choose how they'd like to receive that information. Maybe for non-critical emergency situations, you could receive an email. You would go in and be able to choose how you want to receive that information. And there's different levels of choosing. I may always want to receive emergency calls or emergency situations via text message. I may always want to receive them at this phone number. Each user has the ability to have up to 10 phone numbers. Or 10 different point of contacts, whether it be text message, phone at your house, and it does all those at one time. So if you select all those methods of communication, it will send that message to you in each of those forms. You'll get a text, you'll get a phone call, you get a phone call at home, you'll get an email. So we can actually reach our people in a good period of time, especially with something, public safety, emergency, road close, something that we really need to reach people for.
Okay, so my question becomes, is this something that, like with the other, where you had to sign up for the alerts and people had to verify, but you had stated everybody wasn't verifying, so is this how would the communication go out that we need you to select which way you want to be communicated? Because what if people don't respond, then we're in the same situation we are right now.
The company has the database of phone numbers
Okay.
already.
So did they send out an initial message?
It would contact them all and give them options of how they want to be responded to.
Okay.
So it would be like, we know you're a resident of Crafton, we're rolling out this mass communication program, how would you like to be notified? And you respond.
You would go online and you would click how it was you wanted to be reached. Now, for some of our senior residents, I think we could set up an information. Because a lot of people get very scared by communications and what they should be signing up for or not signing up for. But this really is a great way for us to communicate with our folks that we can't now. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. Just really briefly, we have a hazardous material spill. A truck turns over on Steuben Street. Now, take me through the process.
Okay, so,
We want to evacuate from St. Phillips all the way to Thornburg.
You as a resident, you chose how you wanted to receive information. So I have that information. I have this hazardous spill.
We
Okay.
call you and we say we want,
That's what we, per policy, we hope to set it up so that we can either give the information to Lori or do it ourselves in-house. So in this case, pretty serious, don't want to waste